What's up, guys? It's me, Habibi, and today I have something very special for you all. It's EU5. For the playthrough I'm going to be showcasing, I'm going to be playing the Ottomans. This is mainly because the Ottomans have 150 unique events and 44 unique country bonuses, which is one of the highest in the game compared to many of the other tags that exist in EU5, the many tags. I will be playing mostly on the 2D map, and that's just because while I was recording, I wasn't able to get above like steady 30 FPS with the 3D map. I should mention that without recording, I was able to get much better frames, and this game still has a lot of optimization ahead of it before it actually gets released. The Ottomans are also quite interesting with the start date, as this is right before the Ottomans really started growing and expanding in real life. So it's going to be really fun playing them and trying to mimic history. Without further ado, let's get right into it. We're going to have to first balance the budget. We want to mint as much as we can until we get max inflation. We want to tax our estates as much as we can without them being angry. We're going to have to give something to the ulama here. And we can also click this button so it maintains that equilibrium without making our estates angry at us. And now we go into the estate screen. Looks very similar to EU4, except government reforms are also in this screen. But there's stuff in here like allowing your burghers to build roads for you, which we will go through later. I'm giving a lot of stuff to our estates that it's also pushing our nation in certain ways. All of these estate privileges reduces our legitimacy, which we're going to fix by boosting that up to the max using our slider. And after that, looking at our trades, we're in the Constantinople trade market. Basically, there's goods in this market and they have a certain set price, and we need those goods to do stuff. Trading changes on the month tick, so if you want to micro this, you can, but there's also an option to just do the most efficient trades, which I like to do. And if there's a certain trade that I want to keep, I can click this button and that will make sure the automatic trade won't touch it. Trade is by far, in my experience, the largest source of income in the game. So it's important that if you're trying to become rich, that you have control of a market and you also are able to do a lot of trades. There's a building, which we can search right here, called the marketplace, which gives both of those. It gives you more trade power, or in this game it's called trade advantage, and it also gives you more trade capacity, which means you can do more trades. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to start by building 3 marketplaces. Well, why can you only build them some? Because not all tiles are the same. Similar to maybe like Imperative Rome, some tiles are rural, some tiles are towns, and some tiles are cities. A city can hold more people and you control more of it. However, you can't extract as many resources. Next thing, I'm going to go into our techs, and we start in the first age with most of our techs taken except for meritocracy, since we need to accept that institution to actually unlock these advances. Sorry, they're not called techs, they're called advances. And as a institution spreads, in this case meritocracy, we need it to get at 20%, and then we're able to accept it, which has a cost in money and stability depending on how innovative our country is versus traditionalist. And going back to the values screen, these are bonuses that or debuffs that you give to yourself in contrast to another bonus or debuff. For example, innovative gives you max literacy, which will help you with tech speed, and institution embrace cost, which will make institutions cheaper. And then if you go the opposite route, traditionalist, it's cheaper to stability up, but institutions become really expensive. The next screen we have is our cabinet, which right away we get 3 slots, which is unique to the Ottomans government type. So we get 3 slots while most nations start with 2, and you can unlock another one using an advance under the Renaissance institution. What I'm going to do immediately is I'm going to stabilize our country more and also get more legitimacy. And we can use members, and this uses different types of powers, and depending on the power of our ruler, the cabinet will be more effective. There is no mana in Europa Universalis V. There are pops, which is one of the limiting factors of the strength of your nation, and there is still power of your monarch. But like I said, he impacts your different things in your nation, and you can see right here. And the ruler, depending on his skill, impacts different things on his nation and also gets different traits as he progresses. With our last cabinet slot, we are going to make more Turks by assimilating pops to the Turkish culture. When we open our society map mode, we can see the culture breakdown of our nation. And right now there's a lot of Greeks, and this is a problem because they are tolerated, not accepted. And in order to accept them, we would need more culture capacity, which we do not have. Primary pops give you more levies. Start out with a fair bit of sons, but I am going to make sure my sons are gonna get sons, and we can maybe look for royal marriage here. We can do a royal marriage with Granada, and that's what we're going to do. And we're just gonna make them all have kids. And since we're Muslim, we can have more spouses, but I think we're good with these ones that we have. We can see the rivals screen. I'm not sure what rivals do, but you can see the power here on this level. And with that, our setup is complete. You can see our army is actually quite small. And that's because in the early game, we're reliant on our levy system, which is basically we mobilize our pops, all classes, and they join the army. And depending on their class, they would be better quality. Like, for example, noble knights will usually be in the form of cavalry, while peasant levies would usually be in the form of weak infantry. And if we hover, we can actually get a breakdown of where these levies are coming from. And yes, this means if we lose armies when we're using levies, we lose pops that we could be using for other things versus a professional army. But professional armies and the standing army, like what you have in EU4, doesn't get unlocked until the second age through the professional armies institution. Right away, we get our first unique event to the Ottomans, the Rise of the Ottomans. This is our legacy, which starts the Ottomans or the Beyliks, Rise of the Turks. And all the Beyliks, all the Turkish Beyliks get this. And basically, we're fighting for who's the #1 Beylik. And the #1 Beylik gets awesome things, like they're able to make claims and they can demand money from Byzantium. Right away, I make a claim on the nation to our south because they have 3 vassals. And just like EU4, if we fully annex them, we will get all 3 vassals directly. We raise our levies, sign a general. We don't want to use our ruler because just from a personal experience, I found that making your ruler general makes him very probable to die, especially if he's sieging or taking a battle. And we can actually get a gauge of how good an army is based off of their sprites. If we zoom into this army, this is all levies, and you can see, oh, look, there's one fancy knight in there. But like this guy literally has a pitchfork and this guy doesn't have a shirt. Basically, it's a way to know that if an army comes fully dressed, oh my god, you know you're gonna lose. It's like EU4, we can detach siege and now just go to key points. So this is similar to Imperator Rome, if you've played Imperator Rome. We don't need to actually siege or carpet siege everything down. We only need to look for these little dots on the map, and that basically means that it's a province capital. And if we siege that province, as long as there's no forts, we will siege the entire province. And we have our first battles. I actually got caught off guard by the fog of war mechanic, so we actually cannot see where the enemies are on certain tiles. There are certain tiles that we can see depending on the positioning of our army, but it's no matter. We can just win the battle with what we have left and continue our sieging. We click here, we can see the war screen. We can see that not all of the vassals are in war against us. And that's because when vassals are disloyal, they just straight up don't join wars. One thing to note is levies do not regenerate. You have to fully disband them and then call onto your levies again. And to add to that, levies count as lost pop the moment you call them. You don't get the pops back until you call the army back, and that's if, of course, if they live. You know, they could have taken a battle. It's like that. There's no capital siege. We've fully occupied the Germanids. We can go for a full annexation here, and that's immediately going to give us 3 vassals. We didn't go over our diplomatic limit, as in EU5, you have a diplomatic capacity, and depending on the size of the subject, it takes part of that diplomatic capacity. So we're not even using 1 diplomatic capacity having these 3 subjects. We can right away improve relations. We're also improving relations with these 2 little Beyliks. And that's because we're the strongest Turk, which means that we will get events to ask if they want to be our subject. Now we have to wait patiently for the cooldown on pressed claims. We can see right there, we've used up our diplomats. In order to get more diplomats, we need to spend more diplomatically, or we need to return the diplomats that are improving relations. We don't get a full diplomat back, but it will increase our diplomat generation. More flavor events here located with conquering parts of Anatolia. We can get Konya and Sivas to get access to the old Seljuk mints, giving us more control over these regions. We're still building more marketplaces. This is just, we want to increase our trade. We want to trade more. We want to get more trade power. And we can see right now we are third. Somehow this guy has one. Oh, he has trade focus. And through an event, we get another CB. This is on Ankara. Immediately go for annexation, getting a cost to our piety. And again, we raise the levies, call all the boys, and we have more levies because we have more land. And speaking of piety, it's very similar to EU4. Right now we're negative because we just decked on 2 wars against Muslims. The key difference is corruption isn't a mechanic in EU5, so instead we get improved stability through being high piety. And we can invite Islamic scholars from around the world to come into our country and give us some bonuses. And while we're fighting this war, we are going to do our integration process. So just like EU4, we need to now core these provinces. However, coring is not done with some mana. Instead, what it's done is as a cabinet action, which is why getting this extra cabinet seat is really powerful as the Ottomans in the early game, because it's going to allow us to expand and take more land and be able to actually use that land. Interesting to note is armies actually lose morale as they move, and we have to actually take camp before taking a battle if we want to have full morale at that battle. I'll show you what I mean here. We wait a little bit. Now we go in. And while we siege our first fort here, I can give a little talk about control. Control is kind of like autonomy in EU4. However, it's much harder to maintain control compared to autonomy in EU4. There are many ways we can increase maximum control in a location, such as building a road from the capital to that location. Also, roads, by the way, get better with time, and you can build railroads near the end of the game. There's also buildings like temples and certain technologies that impact control, like proximity to the capital. Since control is much better around the capital or being connected to the capital. So essentially, you're being encouraged to have a more central capital in EU5. Okay, we peace out his allies, primarily to remove alliances with the Mamluks, who are very scary. And speaking of the Mamluks, we also improve relations with them. Also happens that the Kandarids and the Karmanids both ally the Mamluks in the beginning. And peace out, take Ankara. And from another unique government reform, Legacy of Osman, which is unique to the Ottomans, we get a 4th cabinet slot, which we're gonna use to also integrate provinces, since we right now have 3 provinces, well now 2, that are not even integrating. I believe overextension is still a thing, because in one of my runs I was getting some events, but they were not as devastating as they were in, or are in EU4. Alright, and with that war over, we're gonna press claims, and we're gonna go immediately for Byzantium here. Once again, we're gonna raise our levies. You might be wondering, how am I gonna cross the strait? I don't have a navy. Well, there is a solution to that. We can raise our naval levies. And basically, the idea of navy levies are you are mobilizing fishing boats and the burghers boats for military use. They are worse than regular, like professional ships, I guess you can call them, but they're enough to give us navy dominance in this war. You can call our parliament now. This is basically a mechanic that's available to all nations. It's got a different flavor name depending on your nation. Like for us, it's called divan. And we get like different things that we can go for, just like in EU4. I'm gonna choose this one because it's gonna give us more trade power. You can see here if it's gonna pass or not. And right now it's not passing. So what we can do is we can trade certain things just like EU4. I don't want to do the change policy one. We're just gonna not let this one pass, which unfortunately it's gonna happen sometimes. Like these guys want to change a policy. I don't want to change that policy unless we get some events to increase it while it's in debate. We're going to organize our levies. Right now there's no like rally point system for the levies. They just spawn where they're from, which means you got to be careful, because if, like, let's say you have your army from Ankara and you send it to do a siege and they end up getting stack wiped doing that siege, you just lost 2k pops in Ankara. We can pop out our navy here. We can even see the type of boats they are. You can see here fishing boat, and there we go, an event to get support. Oh, all we need is just like one more event. The Byzantium took a battle there. I guess he realized he was kind of trapped, but he's retreating into me. Professional AI. He's still to win the battle. The AI does kind of like to be sneaky and look for battles they can win. which can be a bit annoying, like in this case. Oh man, but I'm also playing speed 4. I could slow down the war and make sure stuff like that doesn't happen. There we go, another event, and this is actually gonna pass. That surprised me. We absolutely crushed Trebizond in this battle. And we're gonna go straight for Constantinople here. As it is in the game, you can siege Constantinople pretty early on in the game. It's just gonna take longer since it's double the fort level of any other fort. Unless I think they can choose to not upgrade it, which in this case it isn't, it's just level 1. So it can be worse than this, but even at level 2, you don't need like cannons to siege it down. We're still maximizing our trade, but we can see here we're lacking jewelry, which is needed for marketplaces. So what we're gonna have to do is build a jeweler's guild. Oh, and we're also actually lacking gems and gold. So in this case, I'm going to just cancel some of our trades and then trade in some gems and just make sure those deals don't go away, as well as some gold at a loss, just so our buildings can keep running sufficiently. Then we can turn back on the auto again. We'll build more jewelers guilds and then wait for the month tick and see if we still have that deficit. And since we're the strongest Beylik, we also get integration events that make our integrations go faster. And we get 2 options, one to get faster integration or a little bit of integration and more stability. I'm just going for the integration here since we're gonna have so much to integrate if we keep expanding at this rate. And because of our unique government reform, every heathen province that we occupy gives us slaves that go to our cities, depending on this, which cities have slave markets. And the siege of Philadelphia, which we will take in this peace deal. Oh, we just got called a crusade against us while we're going for Byzantium. But no worry, we just need to make sure that we defend the landings. We should probably be careful with these boats. We don't want to lose the burghers their boats. And just probably get out of this war with Byzantium as soon as we can. We don't even want Constantinople in this peace deal, but I do want Gallipoli. I want Philadelphia, and I want some money. And that's all we're going to take from Byzantium right now. And with this money that we just got from this peace deal, we need to get food. As you can see here, we're getting provinces starving, and our market is running out of food, which is really not good. People are going to start starving, and pops are already hard to come by in this game without conquest. So we're going to just expand our food RGO's resource gathering operations, and we are just going to sort by food and what makes us the most money and just get all of these built. I know that we have a rice province right here. This is our only rice province, and rice is one of the most efficient food RGOs, and it does get a good demand. We also will increase our beeswax, our fish, and you can see here, oh, we have -0 pops, which just basically means we have no laborers that are gonna work here. However, the pops will slowly promote if there's jobs available to them, depending on our promotion speed. Now we patiently wait for the Crusaders to try to land on us. And we're still scaling. We're still scaling while this is happening, building up our food so our pops don't starve. And there we go, the first landing. The Venetians are coming in. They're going for our vassals' troops. We're going to try to reinforce in time. I'm not sure if we'll make it. We do. And he's getting a straight debuff here. It looks a bit different, but there's still dice rolls. I'll explain this in my explanation video, what's going on here. You can have different formations. Again, I'll just explain that in my explanation video, since I could spend 30 minutes just talking about that. And we fixed our jewelry deficit in our market, so that means that we can start building more marketplaces and keep expanding those marketplaces, because that's really how we're going to make money. We're not even contesting for the #1. Well, I mean, we're kind of close. But still, we want to be dominant in this market. 9 years into the game, we enter the new age, and we have 3 options to get unique techs depending on our focus. I'm going to choose admin focus here, since it's going to give us bonuses to help us integrate and manage our lands better. This does mean we also have access to the Age of Renaissance advanced tree. However, certain advances are locked behind certain institutions. After we completed this institution growth advance, we're going to go down here and get access to one of those unique admin focus advances. That's the Pope's army right there. Professional Armies institution has popped up in Milan. We're gonna still have to wait for it to grow, just like in EU4, before we can accept it. And one more big battle here against the Pope, and the Pope is willing to piece us out for some money. And another institution spawns. Now it's banking. And now, since we're running out of laborers and we're still gonna have to wait quite a while for these laborers to start promoting from peasants, what we can do is we can work our peasants and do irrigation, which increases the population capacity of the location, but also increases food production. This can only be done next to rivers, so we can do one here as well. And the third institution of the age, Renaissance, has appeared, both in Milan. Wow, Milan had just spawned in a bunch of institutions. And our trade focus gambit is working. We're now the highest traded power in our market. And we are also doing a bunch of we're doing a bunch of trades, but our ruler died, which means the sons of our last ruler are gonna now fight it out to see who's going to become the next ruler. Oh, perfect. The one that I wanted is the one that won immediately. So yes, the Black Death is gonna come sweeping through the world and kill millions and millions of people. So what we can do to prepare is we can build some hospitals, which are going to give us some disease or plague resistance plus 10 in those cities. Another hospital and another hospital. And for next war, we're going to declare war on Byzantium. The primary reason is that Byzantium is our first starting rival, and if we can just get them out of this market, it's good for us. Also, more land in Europe means faster institutions in the age of Renaissance. The next thing we're going to build is granaries. These buildings simply increase food capacity in the town or city you build them in, since having a large stockpile will give us enough time to react and build enough food RGOs before starvation happens. Barely winning a battle on Constantinople. And there we go, the Black Death is here. Oh, 4K pops! And once again, we're not going to go for Constantinople in this peace deal. Actually, we're going to go for Adrianopolis. And there we go. It's finally in our cities. The Black Death. Right away, we're going to isolate our country. And we're going to procure remedies to get more medicaments on our market. It's also probably a good idea to build the building that makes medicaments. Apothecaries. I fully expect to lose about 600k here. Through this unique event, we can make Adrianopolis our capital and rename it to Edirne, fully integrating that province for free. And now we're getting demand payment events from Byzantium. Let's see if they pay. Nice. Holy. We're going to use that money to build another hospital in Edirne. And already we've lost 466,000 pops. I decided to isolate my cities here so we can slow down the spread. Not sure if these interactions actually do much. The Black Death's finally leaving our locations, but at this point it's already killed 600,000 people. But there is a way for us to recover from this. We can build the settlement building. This is a building that gives pop growth as well as migration attraction. And that little bit of pop growth will help us recover. In order to build a settlement, we need to have less than 5% of the population capacity of a location, and it needs to be a rural settlement. So you can't build this in cities or towns. The Black Death has also left us with many of our burger estate dying, so to help out with the process and get more burgers ASAP, we're passing our next parliament issue, which will give us a new town and 100% pop promotion speed while this debate is being debated. And now it's time to continue our expansion. Still want to keep building up our trade. Another building that we can build here is a market village. This is like a marketplace, but it has less power and it employs peasants, 1,000 peasants. We can also now build libraries. This increases the monthly literacy, max literacy, and pop promotion speed, as well as institution growth in our nation. So we kind of want to get these everywhere, as literacy has a direct impact on research speed. We can use the institution map mode to see how the institutions are spreading inside our provinces, and we already have provinces that have all possible institutions. Our second ruler died. That's okay, we already had an old enough heir. Not really the best, but we need to get him more marriages. Just like CK3, we get a detailed dynasty tree. Unfortunately, it doesn't go all the way to Osman. For our next war, we declare war again on Byzantium, this time doing a no CB war. That way we can take land from other allies called into the war. And we annexed our first subject, the Kerasids. And this time we were actually successful in sieging Constantinople. That's a lot of slaves. We separate peace Bulgaria. And honestly, I wasn't trying to get Constantinople in this war, but it would be silly for me to not go for it. So I'm going to take Constantinople in this peace deal as well. And there we go, the event to make it our capital. And just like the Edirne event, this is going to fully integrate this province without using a cabinet slot, and once again move our capital. The market has changed to our color and we are now dominating it. With the conquest of that city, we got more institutions and we can get meritocracy right now, but I'm gonna save my stability for professional armies. Not sure what happened to Aretinid's name there. Right now I'm just gonna keep trade maxing a whole bunch of new marketplaces. More expansion. Taking Constantinople has made us so rich. Just look at all the trades we're doing across the globe. Well, within our trade range. Our next claim is going to be on this guy, and he's allied with the Karmids, so we're going to use this war as a way to remove the Karminids' alliance with the Mamluks. And through an event, we're forced to take our first 2 loans. Loans worked the same as EU4, except they start with a 10% interest base. You can also see where the loans are coming from. And it's now time to get our first institution, professional armies. Now that we've embraced it, it opens up a whole new advance tree. That unlocks a whole bunch of different advances. And for the Ottomans, we have some unique advances that only we get. Stuff that gives us Janissaries, faster integration, 5% discipline to all of our army. I'm going to rush down to Janissaries. I'm going to also strengthen my dynasty and just make sure everyone who's old enough is married and able to have kids. Like, come on, bro. Where's your kids? Where's your kids, man? I got to strengthen the bloodline. Dude, he kind of looks like me. And now we've grown to this level, we can also invite Turkic migration to provinces to assimilate more Turkish and get more Turkish in certain areas. On top of libraries, we can also build madrasas to get more max literacy in these provinces. We can also readjust the road by going to proximity and building a new, better road system to Edirne. So we'll start doing that by following this route shown to us. They also increase movement speed and they have more bonuses the better the road. In the first 2 ages, you only have gravel roads. You can also build a royal court. We unlocked our first real manpower building, the armory, but that can only be built in places with primary culture is the highest. Through our manually controlling of marriages, we've basically ensured that our dynasty is going to stay strong and that there's always going to be a valid successor. This also gives us a bunch of characters that we can use in our cabinet. And this is good because if we go here, we actually get crown power from assigning family members in the cabinet. We've loaded our cabinet with Osmangulu, and crown power is quite significant in EU5. And here's where we start going Super Saiyan mode with the Janissary barracks. It's a better version of the armory that uses slaves instead of soldier pops. And the more that we have of these, the more unique unit Janissaries we can build, which is a very powerful unit. And now with a proper manpower pool and strong unique units, we can build a very formidable professional army. This will now allow us to take on all of the Balkan nations at the same time without worrying about antagonism. Just look at the casualty difference. And this power is gonna let us to just non-stop war into the Balkans on truce. And when we do have truces with the Balkan nations, we expand east into the other Beyliks. And since we're expanding so fast and we can't integrate it all, what we can do is we can release vassals and fiefdoms in some of our newly acquired land. And once we were strong enough, we made a royal marriage with Egypt. We ended up dissolving one of the seats of the patriarch, giving us a huge sum of cash. And as soon as the Egyptian sultan died, we pressed claims for the throne. We won the first couple of engagements, despite being outnumbered. And after sieging his vassals in Anatolia, I sent a huge chunk of my army to Egypt, assaulted Alexandria, then went for Cairo. Remember, these units don't regenerate, so whatever we lose to disease, oh my god, there's disease outbreak in our units. Whatever we lose to disease or starvation, we're not getting back. Oh, they're here, they're here. With a lot of troops. Yeah, see how it goes. We outnumber them 2-1. Our left flank just got shredded. Come on. Come on. Oh. That should do it. Oh. Did we greed for a little bit of money? No, we should not greed for a little bit of money. Are you mad? Egypt becomes a union. Beautiful. Beautiful. Next, we use the union mechanic to rush down integration. and united our crowns into one nation. Now this is a strong Ottomans. 3rd April 1435. We got a bunch of subjects now. Classical era of the Ottoman Empire. Drums of conquest sound triumphant. Da 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 da. You guys can read that if you pause. We are the emperor of the lands and seas, the shadow of Allah on earth. We adopt the rank empire. So blobbing is possible if you play the Ottomans. Here's some final map modes before I have to finish this video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, my patrons. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.